Sorry about that. Warm greetings from the high tens, everyday shenanigans. Happy Saturday to all of you. This is brief information, brief video, hopefully, pertaining to baby Q, Quinton Simon, out of Savannah, Georgia. As most of you know, he's been deemed deceased by law officials there. FBI is involved in this investigation. It is an ongoing investigation. So far, the bio mother has not confessed to law enforcement of killing the child or where the child can be found. I'm going to bring you brief information that was given to me. As far as all officials know, the boyfriend, Danny Youngkin, did attend work. 6 a.m. Ping say that he went to work. But we also know that the babysitter, Miss McCarter, did see him at the house after or when she got there to inquire about helping find the child. So what happened? He went to work at 6 a.m. and then what? She called him, Leilani, to say, hey, the child is missing. He came home. Is that how it happened? What I'd like to know is, did he even go back to work? That's something I'd like to know. Don't have verification of where he was employed. But if he was employed, he's now left and gone away to ATL, exact what they're saying. Also, it said that he's a rapper, wants to be in the music business. So how does that counter into him leaving? And why would you leave? A child was in the house where you were staying is now missing and deemed deceased. So why would you, A, take off, B, not stay back to support your girlfriend, baby mama? And then you're not even near the child. Then allegedly, word on the street is that you're wanting. As I tell you all, I don't really like repeating those things because it's not coming from the police. And the police has told us barely anything pertaining to this story and the participants in the story. So everything is hearsay via social media. That is the only way you'll be getting this information if it's not coming from the police. So why did he leave? Where is he staying? Who is he staying with? Is he trying to get his kid? Why would I think you'd want your kid when, one, you were staying in a house with these people and you didn't provide for yourself, the children, her children, your kid, and the baby's mother? You didn't go out here on your own and have your own apartment, your own house. And what are you going to do about the job that you just left? Did you give a reason why you were leaving? Or did you quit the job? See, those are things you have to ask yourself. It is said that Billy Joe, her husband, Leilani, Danny, 3 babies, and a brother named Paul all lived in the house. There's another estranged brother who has given information to the police pertaining to this storyline. Name may be Joe, perhaps. I don't know. He doesn't live there, but he and his sister do not get along. When he found out that the little boy was missing, he contacted the police to give said information. It is alleged that Billy and her husband were not at the house, but they are both still being looked into. Search warrants have been obtained and almost everything. Because indeed, if this goes to trial, they can say they obtained documentation ethically and legally pertaining to this investigation. Naturally, what's been told to us is that Leilani is the prime suspect, but nobody has been cleared today. And this is a very hot topic in the investigation. What was said to me is that law officials should never have said that she's the only suspect. That was premature. Because indeed, if everyone is still being looked into, their data, their devices, their apps, their movement on social media, then why just say she's the only suspect? Just saying. Because possibly there could be also a co-conspirator involved in this crime. There are multiple phones involved in this investigation. They had a lot of movement, not on that particular day that the child went missing, but days leading up to his disappearance. So let's chop that up. How many phones did Leilani have and Danny have? Because if they're looking at phones in the general area of a 3-mile radius, and that is the info that I've gotten, there was a lot of movement in a 3-mile radius of the home. One could chop it up in various ways. Well, they were moving around, going places, doing things, shopping, visiting friends, hanging out. 2, moving around, looking around to do something nefarious with the child. One could say, you're entitled to have more than one phone. What's the big deal? Some of us have more than one phone. Very true. I've had more than one phone. You're entitled to have more than one phone because it's always good to have a spare phone just to use for Wi-Fi purposes in your home. That way you don't have to just sit on your one phone and burn down your battery. So did these people purchase phones for nefarious reasons to murder and discard Quinton Simon? Or did they already have the multiple phones? What's on the phones? What will the phones show us? How many phones do each person have, Leilani and Danny? And when were they purchased? And what's on those cell phones, And once again, the movement on the phone leading up to the disappearance of the child, is the movement plural or the movements in conjunction to discarding the child? Or just random going about their different days, doing different things? One of the brothers have an app with a security system on the phone. And it is stating that the back door shows it was open for 3 hours, possibly between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And naturally, this is being looked into. Officials are contacting the security system to see security company to get understanding pertaining to the back door. Who has the app? How many have an app? Is the information on the app correct? So let's chop up that information there. If the home does not have security cameras, you will not see who opened the door and if someone opened the door from the outside. So who opened the door and why? Did you open the door to smoke a cigarette, go out, get a breath of fresh air, went out just to walk around the property, heard a noise? What happened? Why would you leave a door open for 3 hours? Whether you were inside of the home opening it or opening the door from the outside. Does this family have security cameras inside of the home and outside? If indeed this family has security cameras, and Miss Billy Joe had cameras on her house, which I would assume she would, considering she's made it known that the child steals from them. The stepfather says she lies, vandalized the property, want them out of the house. Wouldn't it make sense to have security cameras outside and inside of the house? So does this lady have security cameras? Let's say she has security cameras and the cameras were breached. Were they breached if indeed she had cameras? Would somebody have access to know where the central system was to cut them off and not record? As I said, this is speculation. This is only a question because I do not have the information. But do they have cameras inside and outside of that house? Once again, one of the brothers has a security app on his phone and it shows movement at the back door open for 3 hours. Thank you for joining me. The boyfriend daddy did go home. Once again, why? Something mentioned about a 12-hour difference between Billy. Well, excuse me, Billy went home. Billy went home. We need to know what day she got home and this 12-hour difference between Billy and her husband. So does Billy work exactly with her husband? And it's a 12-hour difference between Billy's job and Savannah, Georgia, or it's a 12-hour difference between where Billy worked and where her husband worked. So I asked, waiting for confirmation on that information. Where do they work? How long have they worked for this company? Do they work 1 week on, 2 weeks on? How often do they travel back to Savannah home? Do they come home on the weekends, or are they coming home through the week? What is their schedule? How many hours a day do they work? And the ultimate question that nobody's thought to ask, where are they staying while they're away at this job? What is the job title exactly? How long have they been there? And I also want to tie that into her securing custody of the children, because indeed, if she secured custody of the children, what's the timeline between this position and securing custody? Because naturally, you're defeating the purpose of securing custody if you're not home to take care of the children. So what would be the purpose? I'm going to chop all that up as well. All records have been requested. And not just pings, but also text messaging. Looking into Instagram, Facebook traffic, Snapchat, TikTok, burner applications for text messaging. These things take a bit of time because you have to go through a third party to get all this information. And it's a lot of hard work in trying to get this said information, naturally. This is something that was revealed that is very odd. It was said that Leilani was overheard saying to law enforcement that sometimes I grab Danny's phone by accident when I'm leaving. Did you hear that? Sometimes I grab Danny's phone before leaving the house. Did she intentionally throw this comment out as to set up and implicate Danny as the person that harmed the baby? Because I told you that everything in this story is intricate. And it was told to me that this was a planned harming and discardment of a child, baby Q. All this was planned, orchestrated. And I do believe perhaps she said that to law enforcement to set the boyfriend up, because she knows they're going to be looking at data from the phone. So therefore, if a phone was carried while dumping the child, you're going to assume that's the person that discarded the child. Stay woke now. And is that the truth that she grabs his phone when running out of the door? Or did she just make that up to throw him under the bus as a culprit in this investigation? It was said that Billy, at one point after the report was made to the dispatch about the missing child, Billy Joe was screaming at her, asking her, what did you do with the child? And did he drown? Allegedly, this was said before they drained the pool. It was asked what would be the outcome of this storyline. It was mentioned that all of them will start to point the finger at one another. The case is going in many directions, but in the end, somebody is going to start pointing the finger at the other one. And nobody's going to take responsibility, accountability for watching the boys, considering they were not supposed to be in the custody of Leilani Simon. And will charges be brought against Billy Joe for having direct custody of the children, but not at home? Who got home first? BJ or her husband? What are their occupations? How often do they work away from the house? How long have they worked? When did they start this traveling job? And how and why would you take a job if you have custody of children? I do believe she had no intention of raising the children. That's been proven by Miss McCarter, because Miss McCarter stayed in contact with Billy Joe through text messaging, and she would go back and forth with her about the children not having things, bruises, the baby Q being bruised, not having adequate clothing, this and that. That led me to believe that Billy Joe was not at home, because there's no reason for a babysitter to be buying clothes for an infant, child, toddler, whomever, when she is just that, the babysitter. Okay? So that proved that Billy Joe was not at the house or in Savannah taking care of the children. She left the kids there because she wanted to work. That's why. She needs to pay bills. It costs to have a house. It has been said that they all live in that house. It does not say that Billy Joe and her husband live elsewhere, so therefore she possibly has a mortgage or she's renting it from somebody. We don't even know if she owns the house, if she pays taxes or not. So you have to think about all that. Somebody has to cut the grass. You got to pay for water, gas, electric, health, insurance on the house. Things cost when you have a house. Doesn't matter how small the house is, you still got to pay a due bill, plural, for the home. Yelling and screaming. She's accusing his daughter of doing something to the child. Why would you accuse her of doing something to the child? See, you should have never went to the news talking about her. Then you're running up in that woman's house, accusing her of doing something and interfering and goofy talk about memorials and all that. You trusted this lady to keep this child. You were the one who initially had contact with Miss McCarter when the people from the church recommended Miss McCarter to help keep the children. So why would you then turn on her? Act as if she's interfering in this business of a missing child. And I'd like to know, why would you think your daughter harmed the child, or did the child drown? Why would you ask Leilani, did he drown before the pool was drained? That was actually said. Then that leads one to believe that the child has wandered into the pool before. Has the child wandered into the pool before? Yelling and screaming thereafter. When you got home, what were you yelling and screaming about besides accusing her of hurting the child? What was her answer? I did not get a response that the girl even responded to her mother and her bickering back and forth. Close members of the family, aunt, uncle, friends, say that this household was filled with physical and verbal abuse by all the parties living in the house. Did not get a lot of commentary pertaining to the stepfather. So I do not know much about him. If he is a criminal, has a criminal past, if he's abusive, if he was in on the arguing and bitching and moaning inside of the house, did he throw any accusations toward her? The only thing he has said on a news broadcast is that she lies. So now we have to use our better judgment to wonder, when all this was going down, was he at the house when the mother came home, Billy Joe, and was accusing the daughter of harming the child? Where was the stepdad? Was he there? Is he also involved in verbal and physical altercations in the house? What do we know about him, and what will we learn about the stepdad as well? What will we learn about the brother who allegedly is supposed to be staying there and had this security system on his app? And what is going on with this strange brother? It is said that he and the sister don't get along. Why? This is a tainted family. One brother incarcerated for murder, a sister accused of murdering her child, another estranged brother from the family, and then we've got the brother who lived in the house, I believe by the name of Paul. We don't have much to hear about him thus far. What is his role in this? Where was he? What did he see? What did he hear? Was he up when the door was ajar? Naturally, he would have gotten a notification on his phone that the door was ajar. Was he asleep at the time, or was he even at home? Stay woke. No mention that the wife and husband fought, Billy Joe and the husband. Did they fight? Curious. And once again, no information has been revealed to me about the husband. Once again, the boyfriend of the baby, Mr. Danny, has left. Do not know if he's returned. Is he going to return? Why did he leave this woman who's now has a missing child. Her other two children are in the care of somebody else, and you would leave her, but yet rumors on the street say you're trying to file for custody. How are you going to file for custody when, one, you stayed in a house with these people without carrying your weight? 9 times out of 10, you didn't pay rent. So therefore, how are you going to get custody of a child when you were living in somebody else's house, which means you don't know how to sustain yourself, or you chose not to sustain yourself? So now Angela has to ask, do you also use drugs, have an alcohol problem, mental problem? What's your malfunction to why you did not go out here and provide a place for Leilani and her children? Because you do have a baby by her. Why did you leave your baby mother behind? Because now she's in a hot seat by law officials. And now you're gone. Interesting. So much for love. And the fact that you went along with whatever went on in that house up until the child was reported missing shows me you have culpability as well as Billy Joe. Because that means you are a witness to the abuse of the child, all the conversations between McCarter, Billy Joe, Leilani, and yourself. You saw the abuse, you witnessed the abuse, and you were possibly a cohort in the abuse. I'm not here to defend you because I don't know you, but I know that if you rode the ride up until last Wednesday, you are a part of the madness and the mayhem that took place in that house, and any physical abuse against any fucking child, you played a role. And even if you never hit any of the children, abused any of the children, essayed any of the children, you still rode the ride by living in the house and dating and slumbering and having sexual relations with Leilani Simon. So you are just as guilty. When did Billy Joe file for custody of the children? Because that is going to be pivotal information in determining when she started working for this company, how long she was working for this company, and the timeline of her filing for custody. Because if she had the job already, that means she filed custody for deceiving reasons. Listen to what I'm saying now. If Billy Joe had the traveling job before filing for custody of the children, that means she had no intention of keeping the kids, raising the kids. And that would lead one to believe that DHS was involved, because what would be the reasoning for taking custody if you had no intention of staying at home and raising the children or working in the general Savannah, Georgia metropolis? Did you have the job before filing custody? And once again, why did you depend on Diana McCarter to be the second parent to these children? You had to have known what was going on with your daughter, the abuse, the neglect. You had to have seen bruises on the children. You are also a willing participant in the madness in that household. And your daughter learned from you the violence, the irresponsibility, the ho-hum attitude, the narcissistic behavior attitude. She gets it from you. And that is why baby Q is not alive. And that is why 2 other children are not in her care. And as I made a video earlier pertaining to Zane's father, it's a lot that doesn't add up, because in that article, he stated that she had 2 children with Danny. My understanding is that Danny was the father of an infant child. Q had a different father, and Zane is the child of Cody. So where does another child come into this picture? Because in the article it states, he said to whoever was interviewing him, she has 2 children with Danny. So who are those 2 babies? And are we now talking about child number 4, or this is a misprint in the article? It will be baffling to find out that there are more children that she has had, and they are not in her custody. So what is the truth to that information in that said U.S. Sun article? When we dissect this information that was given to the Queen, we need to ask the brother who stays at the house, What did you tell law enforcement about the app? Is that information accurate on his phone about the door being ajar? Is that information the truth? 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Who opened that door? Was the door open from the inside or the outside? And was the door open for nefarious reasons? To A, make it look like somebody came into the house and stole the child, but you didn't think it carefully that the ADT or whichever system you have will show that the door was open from the inside. Bingo card. Because you're not smart. And most criminals are not smart. They are dumb. Because they do not plan everything out. They forget that they leave a blueprint. Too many surveillance cameras and ring cameras are around in neighborhoods and on light posts. And there's always somebody up watching to testify to your movements. Law officials, what was told by this person is that this appears to be a setup and planned, and that there will be finger pointing taking place. It's also said that BJ mother has a rap sheet, but no mentioning so far of what has happened with the stepdad or any past felonious behavior or any type of criminal record with him. Were phones bought to use as a guise to get rid of this child? Thank you, dear. Were phones purchased deliberately by Danny and Leilani as to harm the child and get rid of the child? These are all speculations by the Queen, thus information given to her via another source. We will only know the truth when law officials decide to bring us to said information. And naturally, what has been told to me will possibly only be mentioned in a court of law once a person has been arrested and charged with homicide of baby Q. But you have to use deduction in any story by the information that's been given to you. And I only go by the information that comes from law officials. It is obvious that nobody cared for baby Q and the other two children. That this abuse has gone on for 3 years of all said children. And if you abuse one, you will abuse all because you have the propensity for violence. I do believe Leilani is violent and got it from her mother. And her mother possibly got it from her mother and or father or whoever raised her. And for the grandmother to get on TV and say, if you don't want a child, you shouldn't have it. Well, did you raise Billy Joe? Because Billy Joe lost her kids and now her child has a dead child. And when you were speaking to the news, you were looking off to the corner as if you were nervous about speaking to the news and really needing assurance from the reporter. So grandma, great granny, what's your take? Were you a good parent to Billy Joe? How many children do you have? And did you raise all of your children? And did you treat your children well? Or did somebody else raise your children? Because during that interview, there was something off about you as well. Sometimes we all don't give eye contact when speaking to people. Doesn't mean that we're guilty of anything. Could be just a nervous tick. Or could it be you were just talking to be talking, to seem concerned. But possibly you've never given a you know what about yourself, your kids, or these great grandchildren. Yes, I do believe this story is of generational curses. It is obvious. And the fact that Billy Joe stormed into Diana McCarthy's home and filmed, made it to news, Facebook, should show you she has a propensity for violence as well. And it was also said via a source that All these people are violent in the home, verbally and physically. So I do believe they all have fought each other by fist and hands and cursing each other out. And this would be in the home with the said children, and the children would be visible to this nonsense and barbaric behavior. You see, you don't know people. And I tell you this all the time in my commentary, that you cannot brag about people and put them on pedestals. And all this BS you hear from people saying he's nice, she's nice, we are all tainted and flawed. And who likes me, somebody else may not like me. Do you understand what I'm saying? That goes for everybody. That I could seem nice to one person, but don't seem nice to somebody else. And many people have said that, but they don't know me. And I can say for myself, a lot of people don't like me because I don't sugarcoat stuff. Even in my own wrongdoing, I could say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I should have made better decisions. See, many people can't. And many people aid other people and enable other people. And that's what you have here. Generational curses and grand enabling by all parties involved. The husband, you were crazy to be in a marriage with this woman in a chaotic house. Billy Joe, you are crazy to be taking papers on children that you do not take care of and allowing your daughter and her family to stay in the house with a boyfriend, and they are not helping you with the bills. Fussing, fighting, cussing, it's not appropriate behavior, even if there were no children in the house. It's not peaceful. And for you to make that comment and you don't even stay at your own damn house should tell you something. So everything pertaining to this story of Baby Q is about the timeline. How long were they living in this house with this family? How long has Billy Joe had this job? How long has she been away? Why did she file for custody? When did she file for custody? And why has she not been taking care of the children? And why does she rely on Diana McCarter to be the savior? And I believe that was intentional as well, to find a gopher to help do what she was supposed to be doing with her own damn grandchildren. Diana was the scapegoat from day one, before the child even went missing. And she foolishly fell into the fold with these people by taking care of these children when she should have bowed out a long time ago. They used her, and somehow she did not see that. But it was obvious from day one that Diana McCarter was just a rug. And they wiped their feet all on her, and she allowed that. Whether you think she's a nice person or not, she allowed these people to use her. And at some point, she had to have known that she was being hoodwinked and bamboozled. And that Billy Joe never cared. Because to only call her about the children when you're dealing with Leilani made no sense. You should have been talking to Leilani because she was the one bringing you the children. Hey, I don't like this. Hey, I'm noticing this. Hey, I think you're trying to take advantage of me. Hey, you're not bringing things for the children. Hey, don't bring your kids back here. And bow out. But it's neither here nor there now, because the ball has dropped, the house of cards have fallen, and a child is deceased. And 2 other children are with God knows whom. And we have to also pray for their safe passage while they are above this dirt. This is a lesson learned for all involved and people who find themselves in this given situation, because there will always be an enabler, somebody trying to get over on somebody, use somebody, manipulate. There are people out here right now that live like Billy Joe, the husband, Leilani, the children, and the boyfriend. Many people live like them. And this is why I tell you what I tell you in my lives. You don't want to be one of these people. If you see your life mirroring these people, change it up. Because one, you don't want to end up in a jailhouse for aiding somebody for hurting a baby or for hurting a child, killing a child, abuse of a corpse, child neglect, abuse. Why do you want to be one of those people when you don't have to be? You don't have to enable your children just because you gave birth to them, just because maybe you failed as a parent, you feel like you owe them. And if this is the case, you failed your child and your grandchildren, Billy Joe, because you didn't carry your weight by looking after the children. You failed them. You knew you had no intention of keeping these kids, and you and your husband went about your merry way until all hell broke loose last Wednesday. It's over now. Baby Q is not coming back. And currently, the FBI and law officials are looking for him. What will happen in this case? Will the truth be revealed? Will we get a confession from the mother? Will we find out that there are other co-conspirators? Will there be more stories coming out pertaining to this diabolical mess down in Savannah, Georgia? Oh, yes, I'm sure. Yay, yay, yay to all of those. But will we get the right version? I do believe there will be some finger pointing, and it's going to be between Leilani and that Danny. Who's all involved? Is he involved? I uploaded a video earlier pertaining to his involvement as well. Please check out that in the library. Did he know about the child being dead? Did he conspire to get the child dead? Did he know when he came home at 9 a.m. the child was dead? When he got up at 6 a.m. to go to work, did he know the child was dead? What hour did the child become deceased? Was the child intentionally killed? Or was it an accident covered up and the child was discarded? Or was this a planned, deliberate setup to off a child and get the child out? If he indeed went to work, at some point he came back. Babysitter says she saw him, had a cold look. So that shows at some point he made it back to the house. If indeed he did go to work at 6 a.m. And what was the cold look about? Was that the look of death? He knew the child was dead, and now you're over here interfering, and we're not going to have none of that. But remember, Diana is the one that one of you messaged that you weren't bringing the children to her. And then at 9 a.m., one of you messaged, have you seen the children? So you involved her anyway. And I also think she should stay off of social media as well. Stop talking to people. Stop accepting messages. Stop responding. If you want to talk to close friends and family, fine. But don't talk to random people in Messenger. Don't invite these people to your house. Don't talk, period. Because your words will be held against you at some point when this goes to trial. And if you talk too much, you may forget what you've told someone. Where is Baby Q's father? Why has he not been an active role in this child's life? Or was he? I do not know. And why did the younger child's father, Danny Youngkin, leave Savannah, knowing the mother has become suspect number one? And is he also involved in this crime one way or the other? Did he also conspire to harm and discard baby Quinton with Leilani Simon? And where is he now? And what is he doing? And will he have access to his infant child? And will he file for custody? We know you have to be stable mentally, physically, financially. And under the circumstances of him being in that house with this woman and children and all the chaos, I doubt that he would get custody of his infant child. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. I want to thank you all for joining me on this wonderful Saturday in the high 10. It is absolutely gorgeous here. Thank God he is good. And I want to thank him for favoring the Queen. Please stay safe out there. It is game day. Tennessee is now currently playing Alabama. I'm getting ready to resume into the game. God bless all of you. Please stay safe. Have a prosperous weekend. Enjoy yourselves, but please be aware of your surroundings when you're out, especially at nighttime. This is a diabolical story, everybody. And sadly, a child has lost his life due to no one caring for him and deeming him valuable. But he will get justice, because God is not going to let anybody just get away with murdering a child. And we have cases of people walking the earth who have murdered their children, such as Casey Anthony. But maybe retribution will finally come home. Maybe it's just a matter of time. If you'd like to donate to this great network of everyday shenanigans, $Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much for your time. God bless you. Please feel free to go back to the beginning of this video to get the information that was revealed to me pertaining to this investigation. I've been given an inside look to what's been said, a few little key points pertaining to these people and their disposition. And this is a very harrowing story of a child. This is why you have to say something if you see something, and know that you can always remain anonymous in calling DHS or the police department. And if you fear that it's dire, just call the police. And the ball will probably get rolling quicker than filing a complaint with Human Services. Please enjoy your weekend. God bless all of you. Please check out my library. I have a few uploads in the queue that I put up this afternoon. And this video is number 4 for today, pertaining to Baby Q and his parents, other parents of the children, and the babysitter. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you. This is Everyday Shenanigans.